Thank you, Maya, and thank you, Gopakumar. And we are now 12. Okay, so we'll take up a few questions and we'll try and conclude by 12:30. And as mentioned, we had a record participants and registration, over 1,250 registration for this first webinar of NFE. Thanks for joining, and thanks for inspiring us with good registration. And I'm sure NFE, the new society which was born in India, and being part of National Development Board, you all will join these association and continue in various capacity that you have. You're going to have a various committee within NFE. Your credentials will be fantastic for us to include you in various committee that will be formed. So we will keep you updated on that. So let's go to the question quickly on Mariappan. Whether bed-headed panel having oxygen point electrical socket leads to electrical short circuit. The question is very valid, sir.
Yes, of course, if there is a chance of an arcing, then of course there will be a big issue. But normally there should be a spacing between the oxygen point and the electrical socket. We are not supposed to keep it very closer. Yes, there are not one, but several requirements are there. Probably we will try to touch upon it on next week, the second part of the program.
Now we can have protection on the bed panel itself, sir, for electrical short circuit. The designing of the bed or the bed panel that is coming in. So protective measure can be given. Who manufactures? Is a bed supplier, or the bedded panel is a designer who is going to do that?
Mostly the bed supplier, both are there. There are companies, those who are making bed along with this bed and these panels, and there are some companies, those who are making only these panels. But the question is whether those equipment are really conforming to the requirement of the standards, and whether they are keeping the quality, and whether they are tested as per the standard is a big question to be asked. Amaya, you have any experience in this?
Sir, yes. See, sir, many times in ICUs, the short circuits occur in this bedhead panels only. See, it can be mainly due to this staff, they'll pull the plugs by the cord. So there will be an arcing, and first time they'll pull it will just stretch. Second time, third time, afterwards, some wear and tear will happen to that cord. So that is the main reason this short circuit is happening in a bed panel, and it is there in most of the ICUs. It is there, and in one or two, it's not like in one or in one particular hospital. In every hospital, there'll be like at least 12 or 14 beds in an ICU. Out of that 14, at least 1 or 2 will have this problem, short circuiting in a particular bed panel. That problem will be there. And mainly it is due to the small problems like pulling the plugs on such things.
You mean to say that they're not trained how to, plug and unplug and how to handle these equipment?
It is mainly due to the handling only. It is not that they are not trained. Just because they have lots of other works, they'll just, plug. And also near the bed panels, there'll be lots of critical equipments, like let's say a ventilator. All of these will be present near the head of the patient, and the bed panel is on the top of the head, right? So what happens is that there won't be a space to, reach. So that is the main reason they'll pull the plug. So that is why short circuits are happening more in ICUs and near the bed panels.
That's quite a good eye opener. Best practices, how to plug and unplug while patient is on the bed. Anyway, let's go to Dr. S.P. Anchuri. Also a good question, but I don't know we can answer. He's saying, no doubt electrical installation, proper operations, very important. But many small and medium hospitals, the basement is now converted into lab, testing, even the emergency ward. So functional planning is also important. How NABH is approving it? Your comment, please.
Actually, Mr. Dominic, I am not the person to comment on it. Probably you have more
do audit
experience in the fire part.
Yeah, I do audit for the hospital. In our NABH, they approve it because NABH very clearly says follow the National Building Code. So if you follow National Building Code, these are not authorized. Basement not supposed to be having any electronic and electrical equipment. We have seen how the Miat Hospital during the flood, 11 people died because the entire genset and everything got flooded, and there was no oxygen for the hospital. So there is no recommendation to build labs or the emergency ward at this thing. We need to bring it to NABH while assess the hospital. How are they approving or renewing the license? So this is something, a debate that we can have with AHPA, NABH, and CAO in the later stage. So,
Sir, one more thing, the basements, mostly it will be converted to a radiology department. So radiology department is like mainly for the ease of access, actually. So there will be like bigger machines like an X-ray, MRI, or CT. So it's like very dangerous. And those places, they will have a separate earthing also from the hospital. So all of these things, it will result in a very, dangerous situation.
Yeah, ease of access doesn't mean the compromise on safety. So the question is, are you allowed to operate on a basement with all this equipment? The answer is no. There is no recommendation, nor it is approved. But how NABH is renewing is a question that we can debate with them later. So let's move to the question from Chari. Sir, good to have a webinar. Webinar on commercial electrical safety into the IT company. Yes, it's a good valid point, good suggestion for the year 2023. We will definitely come out with best practices in commercial building and IT. So we'll take it up, Mr. Chari, soon. So Nitin, what is the normal acceptable range of leakage voltage between neutral and earth? In India, most of time, these two poles been short and shows zero voltage leakage. Is it a standard practice?
Actually, this is not leakage. In any system, if there is a neutral current, then of course between neutral and earth, there is a voltage built up, and this voltage is due to the neutral current, the current which is flowing through the neutral conductor. I don't know why the medical equipment vendors are always asking for very, very low voltage, such as 1 volt, 0.5 volt, and so on. But if you look at medical location 2, where a medical IT system or medical isolation transformer system is used, which is generally called as medical or OT panel, there are two systems. One is with the distributed neutral, and there is no distributed neutral system as well. So in case of a distributed neutral system, with a medical IT, the voltage between neutral and earth can go up to 230 volt. That means your equipment must withstand this 230 volt. Rather than checking this neutral to earth voltage, what we are supposed to do is, we should check the equipment, especially the insulation resistance of the equipment, and find out whether all the resistance, the IR value between all the live conductors connected together to the earth is higher than 1 mega ohm. So if that test is carried out, then actually this voltage up to 230 or even higher is absolutely not an issue. It is not because of leakage, it is because of the neutral current flow through a single phase equipment. But Amaya, you can add your experience with biomedical background. Mostly I have seen the biomedical equipment companies are asking 1 volt or...
No, with volt, it doesn't actually, most of the companies actually, they don't actually say, but they'll say about earthing only. Whatever earthing only, they'll, give a suggestion, like they want separate earthing. And with voltage, they don't actually usually say.
Okay, so probably in Kerala, there is no voltage problem, but in some parts of the country, this is also a preferred question. Now, the separate earthing, in the sense, the equipment vendor will ask for a separate earth pit, a clean earth pit, which is a little bit far away from other dirty things. Is it correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a common disease in India.
Okay, moving to Nitin's second question, also I felt it's good. There is a device called electrical safety analyzer. However, according to NABH and calibration by third-party company, it is called calibration, which is wrong practice. Not a single MNC such as GE, Siemens, Philips practicing to use electrical safety analyzer. They check with multimeter and close PPM saying electrical safety test done. Even the PPM checklist being filled later instead of during the checking of the machine. I think it's suggesting, is it why they practice outside India, why it is not being practiced in India? Amaya, are you aware of this?
Yes. Not every hospital, but most of the hospitals do purchase this electrical safety analyzer, and they'll conduct the test, and later on they'll fill it. So I have seen this, but it's not practiced in every hospital. Only the corporate ones where at least proper checking or preventive maintenance is done.
So it is not mandatory.
It's not mandatory. It is completely up to the hospital.
Okay. Okay. Jatin Panchal is asking, as per NEC 2023, can you please highlight the use of fire survey cable for wiring the fire emergency in hospital? Does it talk about fire survey cable in NEC?
Yes, fire survival cable is required for the emergency supply, not emergency, we call safety service.
Okay.
So for the fire safety service, yes.
Yeah.
But please note that it is not only the fire survival cable, the entire electrical installation must withstand a certain time. That means the clip, clamp, conduit, supports, fixings, lights, junction boxes, and so on.
Okay, moving to Arish, the root cause indicated, the simple checks may avoid large number of electrical unsafe conditions and acts. Why safety audit is not conducted at frequent interval and necessary action taken to repair or replace the faulty equipment? Even necessary action should be taken on concerned person who adopted negative attitude, chalta hai, ho gaya, agle baar dekhenge, all this. So he is saying why we in the audit, why that correction is not taking place after the audit.
Actually, there is no qualification criteria for the auditor. So most of the auditors, they do audit as per their experience. For example, in hospitals and, example, I am sitting in a hotel in Delhi. It's a big hotel. And next to me, I have a water heater, the kettle, and the kettle is having a German socket and pushed into an Indian, German plug pushed into an Indian socket. So the earth continuity itself is gone. Similar thing we can see in so many places in hospitals. Imported machine coming with the German plugs put into Indian socket. The auditors are not even capable of noticing this simple mistake. Most of the auditors are recommending in about 70-80 audits which I did in last 3-4 years. Most of the auditors are recommending chemical earth pit. So basically, this shows their incompetency in doing the job. So that is the reason if NFE can take up this training program, we can bring a lot of professionals to do it proper.
Wonderful. So Uday Batwal, is isolation transformer is good solution for sensitive equipment?
No, isolation transformer, we cannot say in this way. Sensitive equipment, first of all, we should understand that what kind of sensitivity is there or what kind of sensitivity is applicable for the equipment. Does it have communication lines? Does it have sensors and so on? Based on that, we have to select. Isolation transformer for a hospital medical location is to ensure that even during the first fault, the supply is not disconnected. Continuity of supply is ensured by medical IT system. Of course, for certain application in industrial cases, the isolation transformers will work. So this is called as safety measure protection against shock by electrical separation. Electrical separation is an accepted safety measure, but we should understand that there are several conditions applicable.
Sir,
Over to you,
Praveen,
Mr. Malik.
yeah, Praveen Chandra is asking, the building less than 15 meter are supposed to follow NEC 2023?
Legally, there is no requirement, but there is one more regulation which I which I didn't show. This is called as Regulation 12, Sub-Regulation 2. It says all buildings should follow NEC 2023. So it is not like, yes, irrespective of height.
So the answer is, irrespective of heights, you must follow NEC 2023.
Exactly.
Are you showing something, Mr. Gopakumar, or some table or something?
No, no,
Okay.
no.
Okay, I'll move on, move to Balaji. Good afternoon, team. Which earthing is best? Common earthing or individual earthing or the equipment like X-ray?
I don't know. Probably if the question is about individual earthing, what he meant is separate earth electrode or an earth pit. Please note that this is wrong. So the only good method is interconnection, called as protective equipotential bonding.
Okay.
Over to you.
Krish, when it comes to IT system earthing, what kind of tests need to be carried out in the initial verification?
I have shown it in the presentation. I don't remember for example, the insulation monitoring devices, its operation need to be checked predominantly. Yeah, that is the one.
Dheeraj he has a question regarding fire due to air conditioning. One slide showed, causes of AC. Please explain.
Sir, maybe you can explain it better.
Yeah. You see, lot of accidents are happening due to, or the fire starts from the air conditioning unit, especially split air conditioning unit or the indoor unit, which is in the protected place. First of all, from last this January 1st onwards, every air conditioner sold in India must have an ISI marking. So mandatory marking has been put into enforced. So all manufacturers should. So non-ISI marked air conditioners cannot be sold in India. And now for ISI marking, there is a series of tests and there is a series of technical requirement. Unfortunately, those technical requirements are not up to date. So these are a little bit old. The next step BIS, I think, is trying to make to upgrade the air conditioner standard. Basically, the problem is the air conditioners used in India, they are not able to withstand any kind of over voltage, be it temporary or permanent. In case of any kind of transient or in case of any kind of over voltage, the insulation fails and it lead to an insulation degradation, either fault or a short circuit. Now, the second point is, most of the time we use our air conditioner through a stabilizer. Unfortunately, the stabilizer reduces the fault current. Instantaneous tripping current, which is mandatory for short circuit, is bypassed. The instantaneous, the MCBs, which is supposed to trip instantaneously, will not trip because there is a stabilizer which is adding the impedance, reducing the short circuit current, and this lead to fire. So you can have two safety measures. First is, if you are having a stabilizer, either you check the impedance and the fault current at the output of the stabilizer, and if it is not sufficient to trip, then you must disconnect or you must remove the stabilizer from the circuit. Stabilizers are actually a danger. So these two problems together are creating a hazard. Probably, I think slowly we will be able to overcome this problem.
Okay, I'll go to move on to Sambit Pani. Sir, is there any way to measure insulation resistance of a final circuit without disconnecting the load?
That is very difficult because it depends on the type of the load. If you are talking, some equipment, this is possible, but anyway, that is not the recommended practice because your equipment may fail. So the recommended practice is to disconnect the equipment and test.
Atul, what are the checklist points, especially for air conditioning unit?
At the moment, there is nothing like a checklist. It is the responsibility of the manufacturer. He has to test. And once when you buy and install, then before installing the air conditioner, we are supposed to check the short circuit loop and fault loop impedances and then install it. But unfortunately, this is not carried out. Over to you.
Okay, Latumani, good morning. For getting IT system for OT and other special location, is it necessary to separate 11.4 kVA transformer or separate isolation transformer is required?
Yeah, this is actually a separate isolation transformer, and the capacity of the isolation transformer, please note that it is not only the isolation transformer. The isolation transformer should have it has to satisfy certain standards. Unfortunately, that kind of a transformer is not made in India yet. Some manufacturers are still trying. And this system also shall have the insulation monitoring device. So it's actually a total system. The maximum capacity allowed is 10 kVA, and it has to be within 25 meters closer or within 25 meters from the applicable load. That means these are localized isolation transformers for a particular load. It has to be connected to the 230 or 400 volt supply line. Yeah.
Somachandar is asking, what is the minimum protection recommended for medical equipment, especially for critical equipment? Is there any checklist minimum protection required?
Actually, there is nothing called a checklist. That list itself is a big list. So it is not like 3-4 lines you do it and it is safe. It is a big list. Anyway, we will talk about it in the next program.
Okay. Balchandran, thank you. Ali Akbar, are you dealing with any Joint Commission international standard for safety training? Ali Akbar, I don't know from which country. I don't know whether it's from India. You can offline, you can send this to Mr. Gopakumar. We will reply to that. And if you are outside India, we'll be interested to know more about this. So I will move on to the Davies. Nursing staff also need basic electrical safety training, particularly those who are in ICU.
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course.
Do we have any courses that will be conducted to the staff nurses, sir?
No, actually, there are no courses at all. But when an installation is happening in an ICU or OT or certain critical places, usually the biomedical engineer would train, or the personnel from the company would come and train the staff or whoever is present in that vicinity or that area on how to operate on or how to work that equipment. So that is where all the training is happening. And they don't particularly train on the safety measures. They will only train on how to work that equipment. The safety measures come from the biomedical engineers in the hospital.
Okay, moving to anonymous question. What is the effect of harmonic in safety, considering most of the devices in the hospital are non-linear in nature?
You see, with respect to safety, harmonics is a power quality problem. With respect to safety, harmonics will create overcurrent in the conductor. And this overcurrent through the circuit will lead to higher temperature rise, and over a period of time, this creates a problem. The simple safety measure or the simple mandatory safety measure when harmonics is present is, if the harmonics is more than certain percentage, for example, 5%, the supply must be disconnected. So you are not supposed to work in a harmonic environment with more than certain limit. Now, for example, neutral. The neutral current must be measured, and if the neutral current is more than its capacity, the line conductors must be disconnected. This is the very simple, straightforward safety measure required in case of a harmonic environment. Then people will ask, then harmonics are generated from the machine. What do we do? First of all, you should select an equipment which is generating less harmonics. For example, LED lights. In the market, you will get LED lights which is producing less than 5% harmonics, and some of the LED lights, this parameter is not tested. And practically, if we test, it's even more than 30%, unbelievable harmonics. So, first of all, you should select, you are using a semiconductor-based device to save energy, but the problem is harmonics, and you should select the device in such a way that the emission is much, much lesser. And I think the allowed limit is 3% or 5%. More than that, we are not supposed to connect. Unfortunately, we connect several items together, which is combinedly generating more harmonics. And once when the limit is crossed, we are supposed to filter it out, or we are supposed to electrically isolate the circuit.
Okay, this is to Amaya. Amaya, you talked about the plug. What kind of plugs are supposed to be used on medical equipment in ICUs? IS 21293, IES, IEC 60309, or is there any special standard altogether?
I think, to my knowledge, there is no special standard. It is the normal Indian standard, the plug and socket, as per the Indian standard. Here, the problem is plug is in with one standard and the socket is in another standard. That is the problem. Both plug and socket must be of the same standard. If you are using German socket everywhere, then the plug also should be German standard. That is more important. But the most important is you are not supposed to use a German socket in India. It should be as per the Indian standard.
And also use a converter which is of up to standard. Like, usually hospitals use this converter.
Yeah, they use 5 amp to 15 amps, like the adapter used. Anyway, Balchandra Loganathan is clarifying that all the radiology departments should be installed below the ground floor.
It's not that it should be installed below the ground floor. It should be at a place where there is an access, to ICU or OT, or it should be at a place where there is accessibility, and it should be at ground level. Basement is something which is underground, and I'm not talking about like it should be. There is nothing like it should be underground. It should be at a place where accessibility is there, near to ICUs, near to OTs, near to wards, and preferably in the ground floor, not below.
Again, Mohammed again is asking about what else we can use the basement. Can we do it for dental, OPD, stores, welding and carpentry? But as per the NBC standard, you're not supposed to occupy the basement, which is supposed to be for car park, whatever the purpose it has been approved. Again, it is based on the standard I would recommend. And also the size of the building matters. Dr. Pradeep Sharma, are beds flame-proof and mandatory for patient safety in hospital as NABH accredited? Our beds are flame-proof and mandatory for patient safety in hospital.
The problem doesn't come from the flame-proof bed. The thing is that bed is mounted on a metal part, right? So especially in OTs, it will be a wet area, like fluids will be falling on the floor when surgery is taking place, especially blood and all. So what happens is that extension cords, they use the extension cords on the floor of the OT. So mainly short circuits can happen and fire can happen, and that can affect the patient. So it doesn't mean like with the fireproof bed, accidents can be avoided, because patient would be touching the metal parts of the bed, because it is to move the bed or to rotate or manipulate the bed, it is made of metal only.
Okay, Marutesha, yes, your suggestion to do a webinar on large cinema hall and malls, yes, we will take that as a positive feedback. We will come back to you soon. Dr. Ali Haider, in what time period should internal wiring be checked regularly, sir?
Actually, there is a new standard made, I think in the NEC itself, the 2023, the yesterday's published version. There is a table in Part 1, Section 17. I don't remember the exact period. I think it's 2 years or 5 years. You can refer that. Part 1, Section 17, I think Annexure C or D.
Hope you got, Dr. Ali. The new standard talks about it. And anonymous again, we had come across situation in a hospital itself that the current flowing in the neutral was almost equal to the full load current. There, the harmonic 2 was towards the higher side. So he says there is an experience, he has an experience on that.
Yes, of course. If there is a single, if all the equipment are connected to one phase, then the neutral current will be equal to the line current. Unbalanced situation.
Soumik Manna is asking why isolation transformer is used for medical equipment.
That is to create a separate isolated power source or isolated supply which can continue the supply during the first fault. So even if there is a fault, the protective device need not have to trip. Continuity of supply is ensured by making this method.
Okay, though it is not related to today's subject, Hari Katla is asking, sir, I'm working in a fire and combustion research center. Some of the research equipment getting little bit of shock. What for earthquake, what type of earthing mixture will use? So he's asking one suggestion, one doubt.
My God, your shock has nothing to do with the earth pit. If your shock has something to do with a faulty equipment, the insulation must have gone. You should check the insulation resistance of the equipment, and if it, you have to repair it.
Hope Hari Katla, you got the message. Please check the equipment, not the earth. So,
Yes.
Davies, do we use AFDDs in hospitals?
Not yet. Not AFDDs are recommended for in houses or in commercial installation. Basically, in houses for medical, bedrooms, and for commercial installation. If there is an explosive area, then AFDDs can be used. But for medical location, you cannot use it because if it trips, it can lead to other kind of issues. So we should make the installation in such a way that there is no loose contacts.
Okay, Prafulla, what are the equipment? What are the equipments for fire protection? Electrical panel, which panels shall be mandatory protected? Let me explain on this. Like Maharashtra and Gujarat is made it mandatory to use fire suppression system and electrical distribution panel. So it's a tubing system. You can use any kind of gas clean agent suppression system. Yes, you need to protect the electrical panel for state like Gujarat and Maharashtra and made it mandatory, and Karnataka soon will have it. So it's a state subject, but protecting electrical distribution panel is necessary through fire suppression system. So why German plugs don't have earthing? Praful is asking.
Oh, no, it is not like that. German plug have earthing, but by construction, it is in a different way. So it won't, if you put it in an Indian socket, the earth connection is not in contact. So it is having earth, but in a different way.
So Nikhil is asking, should the socket be industrial one for machines?
For larger machines, yes, of course, industrial. But for medical, inside the medical rooms and all, industrial may not be practical. But of course, industrial plugs and sockets increases the reliability. But the problem is you cannot pull through the cord, so it won't come out. So then operational difficulties will be there.
Okay, KM New Hospitals, no names here. What is the Indian standard voltage for earth to neutral?
Sir, there is no standard for that. If the neutral is accessible to a person, neutral to earth voltage can go to a maximum of 50 volt in a dry condition. If it's in a wet condition, maximum 25 volt. This is with respect to shock, because neutral is not completely insulated, there are chances that people may touch neutral and they get electrocuted. Other than this requirement, if we don't consider this neutral to earth voltage, if we only look at the equipment's performance point of view, neutral to earth voltage can be even 230 volt. That means even if you put your line in a single phase equipment, even if you put the line and neutral ulta, the equipment is supposed to work. So I would say 25 volt for wet location, 50 volt for dry locations with respect to shock if the neutral, if you are not sure that your neutral is completely isolated. Otherwise, 230 volt.
Okay, hospital use, I think is commenting the hospital use servo stabilizers, servo stabilizer.
Yes, as I said, every stabilizer is a problem because it is adding a series impedance. As a result of the impedance, the instantaneous, if there is a short circuit or if there is a earth fault of negligible impedance, the current will be lesser. Once when the current is lesser, the protective device takes more time to trip. You can use a stabilizer, but then the protective devices also shall be made for operating in that condition.
So Chirag is two questions. What about the inverter AC? Is it inherently safer? Or ICUs or such rooms are considered to be confined space?
Actually, nowadays, the modern inverter ACs, the manufacturers are not recommending stabilizer. Probably they also know that the stabilizer is going to create some trouble. And inverter AC the inverters are able to withstand a higher, the operating voltage range is larger than the earlier ones. So probably stabilizers are not required. Second part of the question, is it inherently safer? Of course, they are not tested as per the latest requirement of IEC standards. They are tested as per the IS standards, where for example, one of the test carried out is 1000 volt permanently between live conductors and earth for 2 seconds. Actually, this test is not sufficient. Instead of 1000 volt, it should be 1480 volt or 1430 volt for 5 seconds. So the test voltage and the duration has to be increased. The second part is voltage impulse test. So the question to be asked is whether your air conditioner you treat as a pluggable equipment or you treat as a permanently connected equipment. If we treat it as a permanently connected equipment, the inverter, every AC must be tested with an impulse voltage of 4 kV. So it must withstand 4 kV surge voltage. If it is a pluggable unit, which generally AC is not considered as a pluggable unit because you always connect it 24/7 into the socket. It's a permanent device. So these tests are not carried out until now, but probably in future these improvements will happen.
The second question is ICU and other critical room considered as a confined spaces.
Of course.
It is considered.
Yes, it's a.
Okay. Sir, Krish is saying, following up on your answer on his question, IT earthing, how do we test insulation monitoring devices? Would it be self-test by device itself, or would it be only through periodic testing and cross-checking the values of insulation monitoring devices and an IR tester?
Yeah, Mr. Krish, there is a related standard available, and the respective test is also included in the standard. I think 2-3 types of tests are there. I am not sure the exact type of test, but these are already there, documented in the standard, and you should refer those documents.
Okay. Praful, we are asking on the what kind of fire protection. My mail ID is there. You can write to me separately. I will answer to you because I am from the fire background, so I could guide you depending on which state are you. And Balchandar again clarifying, like linear accelerator, Brachytherapy therapy equipment should be installed below the ground floor as per the AERB norm. So it is giving more clarification on use
Yeah,
of.
correct. There are certain equipment which is producing kind of radiation, and those equipment should have the radiation protection as well, so that the radiation is not affecting the patients. But this must be always under the ground floor. Actually, I'm not sure. It can be even on a higher floor. You have to make the environment protected. Amaya, you have any idea? You are on mute.
Same thing only. This linear accelerator and brachytherapy, all those things are not found in every hospital. So that's like very higher, expensive equipment and found in like less number of hospitals. And not everywhere this is under the basement, because there are places like corporate like Aster and all where it is not on a basement floor. They have properly lined the walls, made the environment in such a way that the radiation is limited to that area and it is not going out. So such kind of practices can be used to keep the equipment or install the equipment in the ground floor itself. There is no need for going to the basement floor.
Okay, anonymous attendee, I would have appreciated if you have put your name so that we have a name for anonymous. Anyway, do we have a latest NEC India? How NBC is different from the new NEC code, which is more stringent in this?
It is not like which is more stringent and which is loose. NBC talks about everything related to construction, starting with the civil, cement, steel, structural, the civil design, structural design, fire protection design, the services like plumbing, HVAC, and so many things included in National Building Code. And electrical is a small part included in a building. And if we look at the National Building Code of India, some of the electrical related items, which is important for a civil engineer, is included. For example, there is a panel room, the size of the panel room, the kind of height required, the kind of space required in the panel room or a transformer station or a DG station, those are included in the National Building Code. Technical requirement of the electrical installation is not included in the National Building Code, whereas National Electrical Code includes all the technical and safety requirements of the electrical installation, in the sense how you must design an electrical installation to protect from electric shock, protect from fire, protect from overcurrent, overload, and so on. So both are important. The NBC is for the civil engineers and the other engineering fraternity, and the NEC is for the electrical engineer.
Okay, our ICU and enclosed norms are considered confined space. Is any specific safety need to be followed? Yes, of course. You need to have a partitions, material should be fire retardant, pacifier, we call it pacifier system, that need to be used in the confined spaces. Moving to Nikhil Jain, sir, what question should be one asked during inspection to check whether the electrical wire laid is properly chosen? I mean, sufficient without causing an electrical short circuit. So Nikhil Jain is asking what question should be asked during inspection?
Yeah, Mr. Jain, it is not actually one question. It is a practice which has to be followed. Number one, it starts with the proper sizing of the wire, proper derating of the wire. And if you look at the type of the wire, copper wires, which is pulled through the conduit, there are two types. One is with the class 2 flexible wire, class 2 copper conductor, and next one is copper conductor class 5, a wire with class 5 copper conductor. We are supposed to use PVC insulated wire with class 5, sorry, class 2 copper. Class 2 copper is having lesser resistance. But unfortunately, we discussed in several of our programs, the availability of class 2 conductor, copper conductor, is very less in India, mostly class 5, which is not supposed to be used, are only sold in India. Nowadays, anyway, the National Electrical Code included the resistance of the conductor in the part 1, section 17, annexure B. So you should refer that, and whatever the wire which you are using, depending upon its length, the resistance shall be lesser than the recommended resistance. That is the first point. Over to you, Mr. Dominic.
Okay. Again, Anonymous is asking why there is no separate earthing is required for X-ray machine. Kindly explain why it is not required. The question is for X-ray machine.
The question, we have to ask a question back, why it is required?
He's asking
It
why
is actually not required. If it is connected to a separate, okay, why it is required? It is required because of the non-knowledge of the professional who is involved in that particular work, because he don't know how to make a safe installation. So they may ask for separate, which is absolutely wrong.
Okay. I think we have almost done. People are asking where will I get new NEC? I think people have missed when you said it is freely available in the BIS website. It is available. You need to register and download. So is it available? Yeah, it is free. What I understand from Mr. Gupkumar today, it's freely available.
Yes, it's free. I will post the website link again so that people can download.
So look
just
at the
putting
chat
it in
box.
the chat box.
Yeah, chat box. Mr. Gopkumar is sharing the link to downloads NEC 2023. Meanwhile, I'll take the last question. Krish, when looking at the risk premature collapse of electrical wiring system during fire condition, is there any widespread adoption of appropriate enclosure cable support system in hospital? Enclosure for cable support system in hospital.
Adoption of enclosures for cable support system. Most of the time, the larger cables are installed in enclosed the ducts or metallic ducts only. But with respect to fire point of view, the fire protected ducts, of course, that practice is yet to start. The compartmentization plus fire sealants at each and every compartments are already included. But as we discussed in one of our last program, if you use a fire sealant, the plastic in the wire also should have certain properties to stop fire. Unfortunately, that is yet to be confirmed. It's a time consuming job. We are progressing step by step. There are so many other things to be taken care before going into the final, very, very small or very, very, all subjects are important, but, very serious points. There are several other points to take care.
So last question today, I think we'll take the two questions. So could you please tell us the difference between IS 732 and NEC 2023?
Both IS 732 and NEC, IS 732 explains about, it is adopted from IEC 60364 up to part 6. That means general electrical installation. Whereas NEC had included part 7 and 8 of 60364. So from NEC, you can find out the safety requirements in the general electrical installation, plus the electrical safety requirement in special installations such as, for example, bathrooms, medical locations, solar PV, and a lot of additional informations are already there, are included in NEC 2023. But anyway, about wiring installation, electrical wiring installation is already included in IS 732. The information is already there in both the document.
Okay, the last question, Prasad Rao Swami. Who is authorized for occupancy certificate with respect to electrical in hospital?
Actually, the classifications are included in NEC. There are the authority who is responsible for fire or fire safety. Let's say, for example, the fire safety department or the municipality or whoever comes. They are the one who are responsible for making the classification of, there are 4 classifications, BD1, BD2, BD3, BD4. So the electrical engineer's job is each of these classification, let's say, for example, BD4, it require a special kind of installation. Electrical engineer should look which classification it is there and appropriate safety measures need to be included. Who classify this is up to the authority such as municipality.
Okay, Vijay Kumar is asking about more about fire retardant coating. You have my mail ID. You can write to me separately. I will give you the details who supplies, who could support you in supplying these coating for cables. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have just crossed 2 minutes more than our time which is given. It's 1:02. The first webinar of the year 2023. Wonderful. Love to see still participants are waiting to understand more question and answer. This recording will be available in our YouTube and our Solve blog, and we'll also be sharing separately to each individuals who are registered, those who missed it or those who attended late. So all will be getting the recorded video of this webinar. And I look forward to see you again for the part 2, what causes electrical fire in hospital, on 21st, the Saturday, for the second part. And also NFE, we will be opening for membership, and I'm sure those who are been participating in our exhibition all will get an invitation to join the NFE. And if there is a specific expertise, or will be welcome to join various committee. So wonderful. Thank you, Gopakumar. Thank you, Maya, for sparing valuable time and sharing your rich knowledge on hospital. So it was wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Lalit Joseph, who gave wisdom and experience to us. And we look forward to associate with CAVO and AHPay, many more medical association in the future. Thank you so much. All of you have a wonderful weekend with family. Stay safe, and we'll come back to you soon on 21st January. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dominic. Thanks for all the participants.
And also I want to thank our back-end support, Ms. Lakshmi, who's been most of the Saturday, though we don't work on Saturday, I enforced her to come on Saturdays. And Saturdays being very successful for us because many attendees, once we did on Sunday had the maximum capacity, but I'm sure everybody want to relax on Sunday. So we thought not to have on Sundays, but we may have occasionally. And thank you, Lakshmi, for joining today's webinar, supporting the program. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.